Somebody has said every life story needs to be told. Every life deserves an autobiography, including your own. I want to share with you some of the highlights of my life and ministry as a priest in Oklahoma for the last 50 years. I hope that my story will strengthen your trust in the mercy of God, who has a loving plan for you and for every person. Even though there are detours and disappointments on the way, the good Lord works with us, carrying us along to what he wants us to be. All things work out for the good for those who love God. And there is that old Portuguese proverb that goes, God rides straight with crooked lines. I want to thank Sister Loretta Marie Hall, the Sisters of the Sorrowful Mother, for helping me present this story for you today. My family roots. I was born in Duncan, Oklahoma on December 30, 1930. My father was William Aaron Wade. My mother was Muriel Horschler. I am the eldest of three brothers. Padre Gerald Patricio Wade of the Society of Jesus and Mr. Stephen Austin Wade of Oklahoma City. My parents met in Marlow, Oklahoma. At that time, their families lived there. Those were the Depression years of the early 1930s. My father found work after a while in Oklahoma City after the bank failed in Marlow, where he worked. It was in the city that my brother and I grew up and were raised until our little brother came along in 1944. At first, Gerald and I attended Corpus Christi Parish and school on the east side of town. It was in 1940, just before the war, that we moved to Our Lady's Cathedral Parish, and our parents had bought a new home on Northwest 49th Street for $6,000. Our brother Stephen lives in that family home today after our parents died in 1995 and 1999. The early years in high school. From 1940 until 1948, I attended John Carroll Parochial Grade in high school. During this time, we had jobs with the Oklahoma Publishing Company, throwing newspapers on the morning and evening routes. These routes were in Crown Heights district of the city. At John Carroll High School, I remember playing basketball on the team that won a Catholic state championship. And there was a senior play that I had a big part in. It was called Sweet Adeline. Upon graduation from high school in 1948, I immediately enrolled in the freshman class at Oklahoma A&M College, as it was known in those days, at Stillwater, Oklahoma. It was there that I joined the Theta Kappa Phi Catholic Social Fraternity. However, I was not satisfied with my life there and what I was doing. The seeds of my vocation to the priesthood began to germinate there in that freshman year at Stillwater. How I decided to follow the Lord in the priesthood is a mysterious and difficult experience to explain and describe to you. I'd never given much thought of being a priest, even though I had been attending Catholic schools. I must say that I was not particularly influenced by parish priests like Monsignor John Mason Connor, Father Charles Buswell, or even Monsignor John J. Waldy or Monsignor Raymond Harkin. I will say that I was probably unconsciously attracted to the priesthood because of several Jesuit fathers of the older members of the Wade family, and especially and including Father Joseph D. Wade of the Society of Jesus, who was my dad's older brother. In any case, after prayer and discernment, in praying the 54-week Rosary Novena, and consulting with Father James Ross, I decided to enter the Diocesan Seminary program at St. Louis Preparatory Seminary in St. Louis, Missouri. That was the fall of 1949. 1 year later, I was transferred from St. Louis to Little Rock, Arkansas, and began studies at St. John Home Mission Seminary. The motives I had at the beginning in those years were not the same motives that I had in remaining and persevering in the priesthood these 50 years. After 7 years of philosophy and theology, I was ordained for the Diocese of Oklahoma City, Tulsa, at Our Lady's Cathedral in Oklahoma City by Bishop Eugene J. McGinnis. The day was May 26, 1956. Those kneeling before the altar with me were Father Cletus Bash, Father Burdette Burton, and Father Lee O'Neill. My life as a priest is divided into two parts. The first 14 years was service in western Oklahoma, and the following 36 years in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa was erected as a separate diocese from Oklahoma City in 1973. I chose to stay in the eastern part of the state. In western Oklahoma, I must just flutter quickly past the names of the little parishes that I served in during that time. My first assignment was at Enid, Oklahoma, from 1956 to 1959. Ardmore and Missions of Healdton and Sulphur from 1959 to 1960. Then Guthrie and Mulhall from 1960 to 1962. My first pastorate was out in Buffalo, Oklahoma, with Missions of Shattuck and Beaver from 1962 to 1965. Finally, Purcell and Lexington from 1965 to 1970. In 1970, I was appointed pastor of St. Jude's Community in North Tulsa. While there, I was at the same time appointed judicial vicar of the new Diocese of Tulsa, and at the same time appointed pastor of Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. In 1976, after 6 years, I joined Father Stephen A. McCauley and lived with him at St. Peter and Paul Rectory while we took care of that parish and St. Jude's at the same time. In 1979, I was transferred to St. John's Medical Center as associate chaplain with Father William J. Swift, while continuing my main assignment, working with marriage nullity cases at the Diocesan Marriage Tribunal. In those assignments, I remained for the next 25 years until my retirement from both duties around 2002. Since my retirement at age 70 years of age, I have been on a spiritual journey. I have attended Creighton University in Omaha. For a semester, I studied Christian spirituality. And now, for the last 3 years, I have been serving as part-time chaplains for the Eucharist and Sacrament of Reconciliation at St. Joseph Monastery and Monte Cassino School and Our Lady of Sorrows Convent and St. Clare's Convent in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. During my 50 years as a priest, I have had the opportunities of traveling and broadening my view of the world and of the church. While at Buffalo, Oklahoma, I attended summer school at Northwestern State College at Alva, Oklahoma. It was there that I played a leading part in a Greek play for the English department. I took the role of Oedipus Rex that summer. While at Purcell, Oklahoma, I attended the University of Oklahoma for 5 years and earned an undergraduate degree in secondary education. Several summers while in Tulsa, I attended Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., studying the devious paths of canon law and preparing myself for the ministry at the Marriage Tribunal. Over the years, I have had the opportunity of traveling to our missions in Guatemala with Father Tex Carlin, and have visited my brother, Padre Patricio of the Society of Jesus, in his mission work in the hills of Honduras on 5 occasions. During the summers of 1990s, my brothers and I have traveled to Arizona and New Mexico, followed the trail of Padre Francisco Kino of the Society of Jesus, the intrepid missionary of Lower California in what is now Arizona. One fall in the 1990s, Padre Patricio and Brother Jaime O'Leary made a tour of Western Ireland searching for O'Leary's ancestors. Another time, Padre Patricio and I visited the shrine of the North American Jesuit martyrs in Upper Canada. I might mention that I have been in Rome and the Holy Land in 1973, later to Rome and Europe, traveling through Germany, Switzerland, France, and Spain, and Italy with a group of friends. During my leisure hours in Tulsa, I have been privileged to belong to a group of priests who played golf every Monday and met at each other's rectories for fellowship and poker until 9 o'clock in the evening. Game was played with a $10 poor boy limit on what one could lose. While in Tulsa for the last 30 years, I have been a member of a priest support group called Jesu Caritas, for which I'm very thankful. These are some of the highlights of my life over the years. As Mother Teresa has said, I was not called to be successful in the church. I've been called to be faithful. I thank the Lord for carrying me through with his mercy and grace. Without him, I could have done nothing.